Performance does not vary with cannabis consumption in college students. No studies show the pervasive lethargy, dysphoria, and apathy that initial reports suggested should appear in all heavy users. Of course, there are lazy people who use marijuana, just as there are lazy people who eat a lot of food or watch a lot of television. But consider a recent study that says nearly 100 million Americans have used or tried marijuana. If marijuana really leads to a motivational syndrome, where is the epidemic of American laziness? This has been your 2-minute truth. There is no evidence that marijuana makes you lazy or causes any structural brain damage.
Possible reason could liquor be legal and not pot?
Well, because it's in the church. Because you drink it in the church. That's why. I mean, look, if we went up and we had our little piece of bread and then took off of some weed, then that would be legal too. Because church and state.
Yeah. Rastafarian.
Because we can't separate church and state.
Rastafarian.
No, separate.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
You know, sometimes things aren't always the way they seem. We have an opinion about something, but don't really know if it's true. Take, for example, the controversial plant hemp. It could be a billion-dollar industry, producing everything from dynamite to cellophane. But what happened? Back in the early 1900s, two very wealthy industrialists, DuPont and William Randolph Hearst, wanted to protect their fortune. You see, they were in the paper and chemical industry. And guess what? Hemp can be used to make all of those things, everything from cement to alternative fuels. They petitioned and had people believe that hemp was actually its evil twin, marijuana. They may look identical, but completely different chemical makeup. In fact, hemp virtually became demonized overnight. And it wasn't until 1998 that the Canadian government finally allowed the commercial growing of hemp once again. You know, if we let it, hemp could even help save the planet. It absorbs huge amounts of carbon dioxide, reducing greenhouse gases and producing pure oxygen. So whether it's rope, paper, or even a T-shirt, we can do almost anything with hemp.
Welcome back. Now, marijuana use has often been associated with short-term memory loss.
But there's new evidence that it may also protect your memory.
It seems a little contradictory, doesn't it? Well, as Sue Saville reports, a cannabis component may one day be used to help Alzheimer's patients retain their memories.
Memory loss, one of the most devastating features of Alzheimer's disease, with the knowledge it will only get worse, a life lived becoming a life forgotten. But now cannabis plants like these may offer hope. One of the 400 compounds in cannabis is about to be tested in human trials to see if it can delay the onset of memory loss. A plant so controversial for its mind-altering qualities is exciting experts about its possible clinical benefits.
Cannabis as it is, normally smoked, has mind-blowing properties, and there are compounds in there which has this hallucinogenic properties. However, some of the indications for Alzheimer's in a mouse model is just a single compound that's used from cannabis plant material which is extracted, and it can stop the memory loss. Now, if we take that single compound and apply it to humans in clinical trials, we could prove for those 400,000 Alzheimer patients whether it could be used for those.
Studies in mice have shown that the cannabis derivative called cannabidiol, which is not hallucinogenic, can prevent the progression to memory loss in Alzheimer's disease. For patients with this devastating degenerative condition, the chance to take part in the clinical trial may offer their best hope.
I'm sure there will be people who want to enter the trial. The treatment opportunities are so few for Alzheimer's disease, it is incurable. The drugs that exist at the moment aren't suitable for everybody, so there being other drugs available, I'm sure would be a positive thing for patients.
We see a lot of research coming out of Europe especially. We see some research coming out of Israel, some coming out of South America. Spain and Italy seem to be a hotbed for medical marijuana research. We see a little bit now finally taking place in this country, but really the United States remains fairly well behind the curve when it comes to cutting-edge medical cannabis research. And in one of those areas where the US really does lag behind, Europe especially, is in this area of using cannabinoids as anti-cancer agents, as compounds that can actually attack the cancer cells and kill those cells while leaving the healthy cells intact. You know, as anyone who has ever gone through chemotherapy or had a loved one go through chemotherapy, what they know is you're not just poisoning the cancer cells, but you're poisoning healthy cells in the body as well. That's why patients get so sick, and the hope is if they survive the chemotherapy, then the cancer will be gone. But in fact, many patients never survive the chemotherapy because it kills so many healthy cells. So to have an agent that potentially can target only the cancer cells and leave the other cells alone is really the holy grail for cancer research.
And whether you think you're a recreational user or not, that's, it's debatable, because it's funny how many times I hear recreational users say, man, I had a rough day at work. Fuck, the job site just drove me nuts. My boss was all over me. I had to get home and smoke a fucking joint. That's the first thing I hear. And I hear the same thing from the person that needs to come home and have a drink after work. So I don't see the difference in not being a medical thing. If it's coming home and relieving you of stress, then it works as an anti-anxiety pill or an anti-stress pill. That the doctors may actually prescribe if you say you're having such a stressful time at work and coming home. They would gladly give you a pill for that, or maybe something to help you sleep. Pot will help you with that too. I don't even like that word pot. On that topic, the word pot, in my opinion, pot, weed, even marijuana to that extent, marijuana going way back, are words of prohibition. Cannabis is cannabis sativa, period. That's cannabis. We can break it down as growers into cannabis sativa and cannabis indica and cannabis sativa and cannabis ruderalis. We can break it down, not a problem. But it's still cannabis. But let's stay away from pot, weed, and prohibition, whereas it just further feed the prohibition agenda.
They find buying at clinics too expensive.
The high cost of medicine is like about $400 an ounce.
Man, I just dropped off the baby, right? Oh my goodness, what a day, what a handful. I just heard on the radio how weed is more potent than it used to be. So the THC level in the weed, that's the active ingredient that gets you high. The THC level in weed is high. It's extremely high, higher than hell. And it should be very high, because you want to get your money's worth in these recessionary times. And have you seen the size of a dime bag nowadays? Not that I smoke it, but you should get your money's worth, because the size of them dime bags nowadays, from what I know, what I heard, it should be very potent. I mean, at least one way or another you get your money's worth. So either you get a lot of it, or what you get is very potent. And as I said, the size of them dime bags nowadays, it should be worth something.
Hi, I'm Nadia Swaby with the Marijuana Policy Project. Welcome to Marijuana 2-Minute Truths. We've received lots of emails from viewers who want to know about the long-term health effects of marijuana, particularly what, if any, damage smoking marijuana causes to your lungs. Your lungs bring essential oxygen into your body, so of course hurting your lungs is a terrible idea. Did you know, for instance, that nearly 500,000 Americans die every year from tobacco-related lung disorders? If you've been paying attention, you probably did. But do you know how many people have ever died from marijuana-related cancer? 0. No one. Marijuana has never been shown to cause cancer in humans, and the largest, most definitive epidemiological studies have failed to find an association between marijuana use and lung cancer, or any other kind of cancer typically linked with smoking cigarettes. In 2006, Dr. Donald Tashkin of UCLA published what is perhaps the most famous of the marijuana lung cancer studies. The study of 2,200 people in Los Angeles found that even heavy marijuana smokers were no more likely to develop lung cancer than non-users, in contrast with tobacco users whose risk increases the more they smoke. Interestingly, this study was funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse. Dr. Tashkin was later quoted in the Washington Post. We hypothesized that there would be a positive association between marijuana use and lung cancer, and that the association would be more positive with heavier use. What we found instead was no association at all, and even a suggestion of some protective effect. In fact, some scientific studies have shown a trend toward lower lung cancer rates among marijuana smokers than non-smokers.
There are some studies that have shown that cannabis, I think they specifically use THC in that case. It was an earlier study from quite a long time ago, I think in the 70s, where they looked at cancer, in particular rats, I think, and showed that they were able to inhibit cancer, lung cancer specifically.
Suggesting that marijuana's active components, cannabinoids, have anti-tumor properties. Take a look at these findings. Cannabinoids are